Australia's future relationship with America could be in trouble after presidential hopeful Donald Trump lashed out at Aussie Ambassador Kevin Rudd in spectacular fashion. And there may not be enough couples therapy in the world to get these two back on track.
Donald Trump teeing off. This time at Australia's ambassador to the US, Kevin Rudd.
I hear he's not the brightest bulb. I don't know much about him. I heard he was a little bit nasty. If he's at all hostile, he will not be there long.
Lucky for Kevin, he's got a famously even temper.
This f***ing language.
Trump threatening to oust our US ambassador if re-elected after being confronted with some of K. Rudd's choicest criticisms, dating back to 2020 when Trump was in office.
You were a destructive president, a traitor to the West.
Rudd's hot takes, which he's since walked back, coming back to haunt him.
He's nuts.
So far, Rudd is yet to return serve, staying quiet on Trump's tongue-lashing. But the former PM last year played down his comments made prior to his ambassadorial appointment while CEO of a think tank.
What I had to say as a think tanker about President Trump back then is fairly mild.
That explanation not good enough for the opposition, now asking whether Rudd was right for the job in the first place.
And Mr Rudd needs to repair the relationship.
Will the Prime Minister be reassessing Mr Rudd's position?
Ambassador Rudd made the wrong decision.
Kevin Rudd should have known better.
Former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull joining the government in backing Rudd.
Donald Trump is a bully, right? That's obvious. And the one thing you know about bullies is if you give in to them, all you get is more bullying. The minute Trump says, I don't like Rudd, he should go, the signal to us is we have to keep him there.
Even Mr Dutton has expressed confidence in Mr Rudd. He is recognised as doing an excellent job in advancing Australia's interest in the United States.
But will it be in Australia's interest for K. Rudd to continue should Trump be returned to power?
To talk us through this potential foreign policy fiasco is journalist Nick Bryant. Nick, does Australia now need a new US ambassador?
Well, if Donald Trump wins the presidential election, it probably will be hasta la vista, baby, for Kevin Rudd. Look,
Wow.
I've seen this movie before, a British version of the movie in the Trump administration in the first time round. The British ambassador described it as clumsy and inept in secret cables to London that then became public. And immediately he was frozen out. He was supposed to have a dinner that night with the Trade Minister and Ivanka Trump, the president's daughter. He couldn't go. He was supposed to have dinner with the cabinet minister. He had to cancel it. Trump made it clear that he couldn't even step foot in the White House. And because of that, he could not do his job. And that's the problem for Kevin Rudd. If Donald Trump becomes the president again, he would not be able to do the job. So you might be having to ring up Greg Norman, Donald Trump's favourite Australian, the great white shark, and make him your ambassador.
We should probably do that anyway. I mean,
That's great.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Gold for everyone. I love it.
But Nick, what do you make of Malcolm Turnbull's argument that this is bullying and we should hold our ground, we should stand up to bullies?
Oh, look, I think Malcolm Turnbull did absolutely the right thing in that famous phone call with Donald Trump early on in his presidency where he stood up to Trump. He refused to be bullied. I wish more international leaders had done that. British prime ministers took a very different tack. They bowed down towards Trump. The more they bowed, the more he gave them a kicking, quite frankly, the more he humiliated him. So I would like to see more international leaders stand up to Donald Trump. But the problem is that has consequences. And for Australia, the consequences could be, for instance, Donald Trump rips up the AUKUS treaty. Donald Trump makes it much harder for Australian businesses to operate in America. So there would be consequences if they stood up to him over this Kevin Rudd thing.
So in Kevin Rudd's case, unlike in the British case, these were public comments and they were made well before Kevin Rudd was appointed as the ambassador. Do you think the government made a mistake by appointing him?
No, I don't, because I don't think you should give a president who's sat in the White House veto power over who your ambassador is. So you certainly shouldn't give it to an ex-president who sat in Mar-a-Lago. He shouldn't be able to veto who your ambassador is either. And the point is, Waleed, what Kevin Rudd said is absolutely right. And I wish more ex-prime ministers and international leaders would say it publicly. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Just because Kevin Rudd said that before he became ambassador should not disqualify him from taking up that position.
But for all that, now we're here and you're saying he probably will have to leave the job if Trump wins the president. It just seems like an own goal, doesn't it? Why win this situation that could easily have been avoided with some foresight?
But I don't think you should base your foreign policy and your appointments policy on the possibility that Donald Trump might return to the White House. And it is a real possibility. I don't think you can operate like that. It's just showing cowardice. And I don't think Australia should do it. And frankly, I don't think any other country should do it either.
Righto, Nick. Thanks so much for your time.
You're welcome.